I think with the Premier League, it's one of those things where it's kind of like you either have to have enough goals in you to help you. So like when Brentford got promoted, they had Tony and they were able to get goals or everything, but also they were defensively solid. And that defensive solidity is key because the teams that make it in promotion and stay up, that's the core. It's the defense that helps you.
Yeah.
And then you have the goal scorers that can get you the goals. The 2023-2024 Premier League season title race is shaping up to be one of the most exciting we've had in years. There is a three-way deadlock at the top with Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal all strongly in with a great chance of winning the league. But who will be there come the end of the season and who will be disappointed at how it all falls apart? We're going to find out when the year ends. But for now, we're going to be discussing the key games that's happened this past weekend. And I'm joined with Craig.
Yeah.
And we've got Matthew joining us via phone. He's going to share some of his thoughts a bit later. But we're going to start off with the match that sort of ended the weekend. It didn't end the football. And that was the Manchester derby between Manchester United and Manchester City. There was a lot of talk going into that game of whether Man United will be able to do something special. They didn't. And whether Man City will just crumble. They didn't. But for you, Craig, how impressed were you when you think about that match in particular, the derby? Like, what were your thoughts on it, and how do you think it's going to kind of be looked at in months to come?
Man City never panicked. They went 1-0 down, and they're still creating chances in the first half. Haaland could have scored in the first half. Foden, they were still creating the chances, and then in the second half they just blitzed Man United. The way how they pressed from the defence to midfield to the attack. John Stones playing as a number 10. The way how Guardiola's a genius. The way he can just tactically, if they're losing a game, they can just change it up quickly and like go and win the game. So that's what they did. Foden scored a beautiful goal, scored 2 goals. Haaland scored a good goal as well towards the end to kill the game. I thought Man United didn't play poor, to be fair. They played well. They got a good counter attack and they scored a good goal. I just thought that Man City are maybe 10, 11 years ahead of them now in terms of that dynasty and in terms of players and terms of systems. So it's going to take United a long time to get to Man City's level of where they are and where they want to be again.
Yeah, it's going to take them a while. And we've seen ourselves with Arsenal how, you have to commit to a project with the right person. And you have to be willing as well to make changes when it's not working out. We tried with Unai Emery. He's having a great guy with Aston Villa. It didn't work out at Arsenal. Man United have done similar things, and they've gone through several managers since Sir Alex Ferguson. They've not quite settled on the right person. And maybe now with Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe having that control of the sporting side of things, they might finally be able to move things forward. But you just never know with Man United. And like you said, they're the one team that you would never bet against in terms of making it into the top 4. But at the very same time, they don't really help you believing in their chances based on the things they do. But I want to kind of focus in on the match, in particular the goal that opened up proceedings. Markus Rashford, a lot of talk about him in the press in the week leading up to the game. Of course, he did a Players Tribune interview, which is amazing, and I recommend if you haven't seen it, watch it. There'll be a link in the description, whether you're watching on YouTube or in audio as well. But Craig, we've talked a lot about Markus Rashford as a player on this platform.
Yeah.
I know that Marcus himself has talked about where he thinks Rashford should be based on his latent talent. I know when we had Stephen Tober on, he talked as well about Rashford and kind of like the almost frustration, disappointment about where he's at career-wise. But let's first off talk about the strike and just talk me through it when you saw it. And did it remind you of anything in particular?
Reminded me of Rooney's goal against Newcastle many years ago when he was arguing with the referee 1 minute and the ball came out and then bang, top corner. But this one, Fernandes did a good number 9 role. He's playing like a false 9. Got the ball, hold it up, and the way how he laid it off to him, and the way how Rashford just ran on to strike. Because sometimes you could strike a ball and it could go over the bar. But the way how he struck the ball so clean and he went straight on the top, keeper had no chance. I thought it was one of their goals of the season, I would say. The Man goal of the season, I would say. That and Garnacho's goal, but it was a great strike. But I thought in the game, Rashford could have scored more than 1 goal. He had a chance when the ball came to him, it was through, and it kind of just went behind him, and he tried to, and he just fell over, and he couldn't do anything. He could have got a hat-trick in the first half because United were, in that time, that part of the game, they were dominating Man City. Man City couldn't handle them for the first couple of minutes of the game. But I think that after the game, before half-time, when United was still lost their battles and losing the battles, and then Man City kind of turned up the pressure on them. I think that's when they lost the momentum to get back to go and kill the game off. So that's a warning to any Premier League team. That's a warning to Liverpool, Arsenal when we play them in a couple of weeks' time. That we have to be, if we're playing against them, we have to take your chances early and not just score one goal. You got to score one or two or three or four goals just to silence the crowd and silence the players. So yeah.
That is true. You definitely can't waste your chances. You have to take them really well. I guess on a note, just turn to you, Matthew. Obviously, this was a really big game coming up. We expect a lot from them. Like, what are your thoughts on the Man City versus Man United derby, and in particular, any words on the man Markus Rashford?
Like, just when you think football becomes that little bit crazy, the predictable actually happens. Like, there was a great goal from Rashford, probably be the best thing he's going to do all year. He's come out of the woodwork for the one match where he actually tries and at least turns up, and then it's probably going to go back into obscurity now. It was a fantastic goal, but Man City, they've been here so many times in this kind of situation, but you like to think that in your derbies, as bad as your season is going, you at least turn up for that. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
That's right. And another player that I definitely want to highlight as well from that game was, of course, the man that people online seem to be dragging our star boy's name into the conversation, doesn't need to be had, but Mr. Phil Foden, number 47, bringing the gun celebrations. I remember once upon a time when other players did the same and they got banned from doing it, but for Foden, it's fine. I ain't saying nothing. But actually, no. Before we get into talking about Phil Foden, because I feel like with Rashford, there's one other thing I want to discuss as well. And I think it's about his development as a player.
Okay.
It's one of the things which I know we've talked about in the past about where we think he could be. And I remember there was, that when Man United played Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League a couple of years ago, and everyone was saying, oh, Rashford's telling Mbappe, come outside. Listen, when you look at where they both are now, Rashford ain't even cleaning Mbappe's boots. He's not even in the stadium, much less on the same pitch as him. So how important do you think it is, and how much of a failure has it been that Rashford's not been coached sufficiently to maximise his talent?
I honestly feel he's gone stagnant in Man United. I think maybe a move would be doing the world of good, just to get out of maybe Manchester, get out of England, and maybe go abroad or something, because his game he's gone backwards. So when he first came onto the scene, he scored a goal in the Europa League. Then he scored in his debut against Arsenal, and then I thought, this guy looks like he's going to be a serious threat as a number 9. Then over the years, he's been moved out wide. He had a good season, and then he kind of, when it was on, I think it was under Mourinho, when his form kind of dipped a little bit. Mm-hmm. Then Odegard came in and kind of helped him, rejuvenate him a little bit. He only got the call up for England. England was saying this guy looks like he could be the real deal, and then he went to I think it was the Euros he went to. I think the 2016 Euros he went to. He done okay. Then he went to the World Cup, the 2018. He went to the World Cup. He did all right. Then the Euros happened. The Euros in England. I think him, Saka, and Sancho missed penalties. Saka, out of all three of them, Saka's the only one that bounced back from that and elevated his game even higher.
That's true.
I think Rashford and Sancho, to be honest with you, their form just deteriorated, just went downhill. But then last season, I think he rejuvenated his career again under Ten Hag, won the League Cup last season, and then after that, he scored 30 goals in all competition last season, scored a lot of goals, scored after the screamer against us at the Emirates. And I thought this season he'll kick on again and try and get those numbers or even better than numbers last season. But it just hasn't happened for him. I've injury, loss of form, too much outside curricular activities, not helping him. I don't know if he's happy in his life or what is going on in his personal life, because I know one thing, if you're a player and you're not happy in your personal life, it can affect you on a pitch. So maybe he's not confident at all, and maybe he just needs that space where he can just go somewhere else and just keep his head down and just start afresh.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. It's very hard to work out why it is that more managers haven't been able to get more out of him. I think he's always been one of Man United's key and most dangerous players. And he's a player that I look at and think, I wonder how well he would do if he was to make a move, say, to North London, to Arsenal. And under Arteta's sort of guidance, would that bring more out of him? To be honest, one club that I think he should join this summer, if he's thinking of a fresh change from Manchester United, is PSG. They'll have a massive vacuum with Mbappe being gone. There's opportunities for him to win silverware every season. There's a chance for him to play in Champions League. Now, I know, obviously, going from Man United to PSG is not really the best move in the world, but it could be a good way for him to kind of get his game back altogether and then get another big move. Because who knows, he could go from Man United to PSG and he could end up in Spain at either Madrid or Barcelona in a season or so's time. But it's one of those weird ones with him. I think he's got a lot more capability, and that goal he scored, he should be doing that on a more regular basis, because this guy is an incredible striker of the ball. I remember the goal he scored against us at the Emirates last season when he shifted it in, left Partey on his backside, slammed it in there, across Ramsdale. He had no chance to get in it. He's got that, and that's one of those type of finishes that you'd think of, like Cristiano could do that, where he hit it with his instep and just got the ball clean and it would fly past keepers. So I really think he needs to make a move. For you, if he was to move on from Man United next season, where would you think it would be a good place for him to go?
I think PSG would be a good move for him. Fresh starter, leave England, leave Manchester, just go somewhere fresh, start afresh. But the only issue is that Paris has got nice nightclubs as well, so he needs to avoid the nightlife as well. Maybe he just needs to get away from that and just focus more on football, focus on because if you look at like him and Mbappe, they were comparing them a couple of seasons ago. Mbappe single-handedly took France to the World Cup final. Look what he did in the World Cup final.
Hat trick, man. Crazy.
Rashford's got the ability to do them numbers if he wanted to. It's up to him. You don't want him to end of his career with regret, saying, you know what, I wish I did more in my career. Because he's getting older now, he's not getting any younger. I think he's holding now, 26, 27.
He's about that 26.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's one of those things where you're right. It's a tough one. He's got all the ability to kind of go to that next level, but I think he just needs to move to the right club and have the right coach. And one player that we know definitely has been flourishing under the right coach in the right environment is Phil Foden. Wonderful. I mean, 2 brilliant goals to kind of secure the derby, and obviously Haaland got the cherry on top. But how impressed have you been with Foden? I don't even want to just say this season, just in general as a player. Because I remember the first time I saw him for the England under-21s, I was like, who is this kid? Baller from day one, and now he's getting opportunity to flourish in the main team at Man City.
Such a young guy, he's really like taking on that responsibility. You look around the main 3 clubs like Arsenal with Saka, and Liverpool. You've got their youngsters there as well. I mean, you can't name a single, you can't really single them out, but they're all stepping up, and that's just marks of a team that's marking towards the championship. And it's almost like a leadership quality in him. One day could be a future captain, and whether he ends up or if he stays Man City, I don't know. But it's just a mark of a very well-trained player.
I honestly feel that with Foden, I feel that he's done so well for Man City this season. Not just this season, for every season he's been at the first team since he's been at the club. He's done well. He's won so many trophies already at his age already. Like, he can retire tomorrow with so many medals around his neck. I just feel like for England, I don't know if the system that England play help him to flourish. I don't think it helps him at all. I feel like he should play more central. I think he's got the legs. He can play as, but I think you got him, you got Jude Bellingham, you got Declan Rice. So either in that midfield, you could play him in a 3 in that midfield. You could play Jude more backwards and put Foden as a number 10. Or, you know what I mean? Try something in these friendlies we've got coming up. Try something and see how it could work.
I mean, you could also play him off the wing. So you could have him and Saka on either wing. You'd have Bellingham in the number 10 behind them. And you have Kane through the middle.
Yeah.
And then behind that. And then it's all about the platform you give them to build from. So you'd have Rice and it all depends on what Southgate wants to do. And the issue with England in a good sense is that we have all these attacking options. Like we are spoilt for choice of quality players that can do amazing things. The issue with that is then you have a manager who is very much risk averse. So even though we have all these attacking players, like, we've gone to tournaments and you've seen Grealish on the bench. You've gone to tournaments and you've seen Maddison not used for a long time. So it's like, the bigger question is, can Southgate find a system that unlocks all these attacking talent, but also gives him that defensive stability that he really wants and treasures?
Definitely. I agree. I feel that like if the Euro starts this in the summer, Foden has to be normal, has to start. 100%. He's had a great season. He has to start, and he's gonna on the verge of winning more silver again this season. So he has to start again. Start this in the Euros. You have to find somewhere in the squad to put him in the team to put him. So yeah,
I think that's the key thing. He's got to find a way, and hopefully he will. But I don't even know. I mean, one other player that I want to focus on for Man City is, of course, Rodrigo. He has gone, aka Rodri, a guy I don't like. He's my Marmite. I really can't stand him. But he has gone unbeaten in his last 59 appearances for Man City in all competitions. They don't lose when he plays, which is a problem because he's now fully fit and not likely to get suspended anytime soon. But like, how impressed are you with that record, and what do you think? How do you think it's pretty clear that he's probably Man City's most important player?
yes. It makes them tick. You can see the season when it was start of the season when he was injured or suspended. They lost games when he was not playing. He's the guy that everything goes through him. Everyone talks about the De Bruynes of this world, the Haalands of this world, the Fodens of this world, but he's the guy that glues the whole team together. When he functions very well. He's a very important player for them. Just like how Declan Rice is for Arsenal this season. He's that important player. He's been doing it for years now. Since he's been at City, he's just been successful, driving the team on to win trophies. Even on Sunday when Haaland missed that chance that in the first half, he was so angry because he did the disappointment. He was so upset because he knew that that was a crucial chance in the game that could have cost him the game. So he's very passionate, leader, could be a captain without the armband, but he just does the job. He knows how to he just knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you need those type of players in your teams, otherwise it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But with Eric Ten Hag, just looking at Man United's perspective again, just to kind of I guess wrap up this section, but I find it very hard to. Thinking from an unbiased perspective, like as an Arsenal fan, I find it hilarious how he just keeps messing up. But when you look at teams, and I think as well when I think about, and I like using Gary O'Neill at Wolves as an example as well, how well he's been able to come in, get a system in place, get his players playing a way that he wants them to play, doing well with that. You look over at Luton, you got Rob Elliott, who, they come from the Championship, and they don't necessarily have all the quality players to survive in this league, but yet they play good football and they always battle. They never, ever, ever give up. And there's some matches they're unlucky not to get, the wins, like the game against Villa at the weekend. It's so unlucky they lost. Another day they could have won that game. At the least should have drawn because that's what they're about. But when you look at Ten Hag and in that match, they went 1-0 up and they just stopped attacking. They were just backing off Man City. And Man City are one of those teams that you don't want to back off because you know what they can do. What do you think about Ten Hag's tactics? Considering the fact that when he gives interviews, he always talks about how he wants to play, progressive football, out from the back. I'm sorry, but those centre-backs can't play out from the back. Even Onana looks shook. Onana on the ball reminds me of Petr Cech a little bit. Maybe Leno, a bit better, but, he's not really comfortable with it. But how do you kind of look at what he's doing and reconcile what he says Man City are about and what actually is happening on the pitch? Or Man United's about, rather, and what's happening on the pitch?
I think the players don't have any confidence in the manager, and they're not confident in themselves either because, tactically, the manager tactically he got it right in the first half. He did what he needed to do, got the goal early, but there was no, after they scored the first goal, there was no, he didn't have that. The old Man United team on the side, Ferguson, if they were 1-0 up against City the other day, they would have given Man City a run for their money. I'm telling you that for sure. I thought for Alex Ferguson's manager now and he's managing against Pep Guardiola, he would have found a way how to beat Pep Guardiola somehow. He would have found something out of nothing to do. He would have upset them. He would have stopped their rhythm. He would have done something. I feel like United don't. From the goalkeeper, the defenders, I just said they don't have ball playing centre backs. Like Martin has been out injured for a long time now. Been in and out of the team injured. Maguire has been injured. The start with Johnny Evans the other day. Johnny Evans and Varane. As I said a couple of weeks ago, Varane is not the same Varane that was at Real Madrid. Johnny Evans he played okay, but he's like 36, 37. He's old. It's not you know, he's not a young player anymore, so he can't. He came off as well, so and they have a lot of injuries in the team as well, so they can't really play the type of football they want to play. But and at the day, I feel like the players who come into the team have to show the manager why they should be picked ahead of the players who are injured. So competition, they have to prove their point, but they're not really proving their point. So it could maybe in the end of the season they could review it as, you know, this is not the season we want, and then they might move on from him again and get another manager in. But then how many years is it going to take United to keep on bringing in new managers and managers and managers? The more managers they bring in, Man City will just keep on winning. Liverpool.
Do you think he'll survive the season? Because I'm a bit skeptical. I don't know if he will make it to the end of the season.
I feel like it'd be too harsh to make a change now. I think they should wait till the end of the season, to be honest with you. If they make a change now, it's going to be too... I don't think it's going to work. I think they need, in the summer, if they want to get a new manager in, because they've got a lot of deadwood in the team that needs to be gone in the summer, and they spent an awful lot of money on players who have not been valued for money. They're not been valued for money at all.
No,
I can name a few, but they haven't been valued for money. And if you look at it, look at, for example, like Liverpool. Liverpool went and bought Gravenberch. They went and brought McAllister for value. That's value for money for what they paid for them. What they paid for these type of players, they got value for money, and they got the right type of players for the ethos and the system or what Liverpool play. Man United have not bought the right players in the last couple of years or seasons.
Even think about last year, they loaned in Marcel Sabitzer in January. He went straight back.
Yeah,
they could have used that time to bring in a player that they wanted to keep for longer. Obviously, this season they brought in Amrabat. It's just not worked out at all. And in fact, he cost them one of the goals at the weekend. So it's like they're just not making the right choices. And you look at Malachi, I know he's been injured, it's unfortunate. But even when he has played, he's not really looked that imposing. Martinez has looked great. And he's been a good sign-in. Onana has been mostly good. I think he's had some ricks here and there, but I think from the De Gea, I think that's been a fine upgrade. But then Hodgland, you know, he's been good, but he's not had enough service at times, so I think it's been a bit unfair on him. But you look outside of that and you think, where was the winger option to give, you know, a Rashford or Garnacho competition? Where was the real, like they brought in Mason Mount. Where is he? Man's still injured. So it's like they've made a decision and you just look and think, okay, what's the point? They still haven't really fixed their holding midfield position. They have Casemiro. I keep calling him Casamigos. I know his name is Casemiro, but for me, he just plays like he's on the drink. So and even the way how Foden left him the other day, it's just like he just looks like he's in that retirement club. I've just come for a big paycheck and I'll move. I just don't get it. And I know that Ineos should help with these decisions, but Ten Hag has to look in the mirror and say, look, I called for these signings and it hasn't worked out.
Anthony, how much money they pay for Anthony, all the money they pay for Sancho hasn't worked out. Loaned him back to Dortmund. I'm very disappointed with the Sancho. I thought Sancho would have done well at United. I thought that he would have.
Yeah, but when I look at both those two players, Anthony and Sancho, Anthony was never going to work because he's not fast enough. And in Ajax, in the Dutch league, he was able to showcase his skills and everything. But the Premier League, everyone's quick and physical. So the thing is, you can be, and we've had players in the past that are very technically skillful and not the quickest. Adel Taarabt comes to mind. But here's the difference between Adel Taarabt and Anthony. Adel Taarabt moves that ball quick. Even when he's going to do a trick to just nutmeg you, he's moving quickly with the ball. Anthony will slow it down, look you in the eye, and then you know he's going to cut inside. So what kind of, you know, there's no real skill to it. And you look at Sancho, and I just feel like Sancho was just the wrong player in the wrong team. Or if you're going to play Sancho at Man United, he should have played number 10. In a position where he doesn't have to do as much sprinting, because he's not a sprinter in that sense. He's a dribbler, good combination player. Put him in the middle. They could have played him in the number 10, and they could have had Bruno just behind him. Or have him and Bruno as twin eights. I know he's not a number 8, but it would have been interesting playing him in that kind of, almost like how we used to have Rosicky or, you know, those players who would kind of play inside a bit more, even Nasri, although Nasri could run, but you have them as interior players that can combine. Sancho's not a winger like that. And you look at him at Dortmund now, he's not really worked out either because, you know, his game's kind of suffered a lot. But I don't know what they're going to do.
This would have been if Man United kind of delivered a little bit on this game and got something out of it, even if it was a point, it would have held them in higher favour. But, you know, I mean, they've gone back to being poor again, United. There's too many ebbs and flows. I had them down to finish in the top 4. And at the moment, it's not looking all that likely. We're in March. There's like less than 2 months of a season to go. So he's got to dig something out. He's got his saving graces that I think they're still in the FA Cup. So we got to the final of that last year. Who's to say they can't go all the way this year? But that could be his saving grace, which is a bit sad in the FA Cup because it's not treated as given the respect that he should. Like, it shouldn't be just a thing where, oh, you got the FA Cup, here's your job. It's a prestigious trophy. Even if, in my book, even if he did do if Pochettino is under threat, I think so should he as well. You know, the money that's been given, the backing that's been given with what he's got, he should be doing a hell of a lot better, you know, at least showing that you're trying to compete for the Premier League, you know, for the first time in 10 years. But look, if he gets top 4 by like the skin of his teeth, he's got a last chance. But if he doesn't, I'll be looking, if I were Man United, I'll be looking around.
But we're going to talk about a team at the top of the table. The guys, Liverpool, who got a nice win against Luton Town. Over to you, Matthew. What's your kind of thoughts on the game, especially the fact that Liverpool were able to pull off such a late winner and just get those 3 crucial points to keep this title race alive for them?
The very thing that Liverpool did so well in that game is that they just kept on plugging away and they won in the ugly way. I remember how Mark said, like, you know, they do what they got to do. They grind it out and they play until the absolute last minute, even if it was a 99th minute sort of goal. I mean, that's absolutely like astronomical kind of thing to think that the 9-minute time for a game is actually almost quite a commonplace thing nowadays. It's actually crazy, but they do what they had to do. Nottingham Forrest were like credit to Forest, they properly pushed Liverpool right towards the edge. I think we predicted it to be a bit more of a one-sided sort of thing, like Liverpool running away with it. But, you know, such is life. You know, it's a tough ground to go to, and unfortunately, it didn't make it work. That being said, you know, our favourite subject of VAR rears its ugly head. And, you know, you see how, you know, the goal probably, or the corner taking it probably shouldn't have stood. And it's just VAR just making mistakes again in crucial moments.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that goal. And I definitely want to talk about the VAR situation. So obviously, Craig, what's your thoughts on how that whole situation conspired from, you know, the cross that was put into the box, Kelleher taking out Konate, Hudson-Odoi has the ball, referee blows up for a foul, and then gives the ball to Liverpool uncontested, even though it should have gone back to Luton. But what's your take on the whole situation?
I thought that Hudson-Odoi had the ball.
It wasn't Luton, it was Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest. I said Luton, Nottingham Forest.
Conor Hudson-Odoi had the ball, and then I think one of the Liverpool players, I think it was Diaz, took the ball off him, tried to continue to play on, and the referee blew the whistle, and then he gave the ball back to Liverpool instead of getting it. And if Hudson-Odoi was more streetwise and more smart,
I don't think he lost the ball. He didn't lose the ball. He had the ball still, and he stopped the play.
He stopped the play, but then Diaz took the ball off him.
Oh, so the referee saw Diaz with the ball, not has got it.
And gave the advantage to Liverpool. And I think it was a couple of minutes after that they went and scored. But oh gosh, these referees, man. We've been talking about them all season.
Honestly.
It's just not getting. Every week it seems to be another mistake every week.
And he's a VAR for us against Brentford at the weekend. I mean, he's been demoted from refereeing, but he gets to be on VAR. Like, how does that make sense?
He should be demoted to the Championship or League One or something.
Don't
even play him.
Two.
Don't even play him this week. Don't make him do no refereeing this weekend.
Say League Two, because it's not fair on them to have to suffer a referee that can make this. It's a basic mistake. It's a basic error in the game when there's a drop ball like that. Liverpool should have given it back to
Nottingham Forest,
or give the ball to Nottingham Forest uncontested in that same area of the pitch.
Yeah,
because you never know if Hudson-Odoi put another cross in, it goes up for a corner. It could have been Nottingham Forest corner that could have been the one that led to a goal.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, I mean, I know there was a gap between Liverpool getting the goal, and people are right in saying that they had Nottingham Forest had plenty of chance to clear the ball in the box, all that kind of stuff. But the reality situation is those attacking patterns would not have happened if Nottingham Forest had gotten the ball back when they should have gotten it. So everything after that, you got a point, but it's irrelevant because they shouldn't have had the ball to begin with.
True.
So I just don't know. But fair play to Liverpool. I mean, they had to score the goal, and what a nice goal from Nunes, as Matthew was saying. Just they have a way of just grinding out results and grinding performances, even though they don't look like they're doing so well. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like, it does feel like the Klopp farewell tour is going to go off really well. They've got 1 trophy down, 3 more up for grabs. They're pushing really hard across all 3 in the league, the FA Cup, and of course Europa League. So we'll see how they do there. But like for you, Craig, like what's your kind of final thoughts on this match in particular?
I thought Nottingham Forrest did well. I thought they did very well. They kept it to 0-0 at half time. They lost in the 90 something minute in the game. 99th minute in the game. So I thought fair play to Nottingham Forest. They've done well. When we played them recently as well, they gave us a game as well.
That's true.
So I think the problem with Nottingham Forest, I would say, is that they play well against the big boys. Against the big boys, they put on the show. But when it comes to the smaller teams in the relegation battle, they don't look up for it at all. I can show you an example, like against Brentford, when they played Brentford away, they lost 3-2. They don't look up for it in the games that are important for them to stay up in the league. So they have to change that mindset between now and the end of the season, because they're not going to be playing Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea every week. They're going to be playing the teams in and around them that can just keep them up in the Premier League. So yeah.
That is very true, and they've got to figure it out and fast, because they're a team that I think that likes into kind of Premier League. They've brought a nice energy. They're battlers, but like you say, they've got to beat the teams around them. You can't just beat the big teams. But speaking of the big teams, we've got a massive game coming up on Sunday. Liverpool versus Man City. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's quite a title decider, but it might be. Craig, what's your prediction for that match?
All the injuries Liverpool have got, if Liverpool get a point in the game, they'll be very, very fortunate to get a point out of the game, because I know Man City's record at Anfield is not that good. I know Man City has not got a good record at Anfield, but the way how confident Man City is at the moment, the way how they're playing, it could be an entertaining game. I would say. It's hard to gauge, because when they played in I think it was December they played each other, it was a 1-1 draw. So I think Liverpool got a couple of their players come back from injury. Man City looking full strength at the moment. I think they're not really missing any injury players. In my head, I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, it's going to be close. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I for one can't call it. Yeah, we'll have to see how it all goes. I know, Matthew, you have some thoughts on not just this match, but ultimately how the title race will go. So let us know what you're thinking about this particular game and how things might go for all the 3 teams that are in contention.
I genuinely believe that the Man City-Liverpool game is going to swing somehow, despite the fact I do still expect Man City to be top by the end of the season. And, without getting into the fact of too many more competitive teams, because it's too easy just to say that, because you expect there to be banana skins there somewhere. Yes, Liverpool, I think, will have Man City will have Liverpool's number this week. I do, but I also think along the way, I think there's going to be banana skins for all 3 clubs. I think Brighton, for you haven't liked playing Brighton in the past, so you know that their form is a bit here and there sometimes. But De Zerbi's got a good manager. Brighton have a half-decent record against Arsenal in the past. I think he went 2 or 3 seasons without getting a single win. So I don't know. I think your free scoring goal run will come to an end at some point, and I just think that Brighton will be right for that. I think there's a slip up in you guys in there somewhere, especially kind of this time of the season that happened last year. It can happen again. For Man City again, though, it could even be Spurs. Spurs have had their number a couple times across the seasons, and Spurs, with nothing to play for apart from getting back into European spaces, have seemed to have found their feet a little bit. Seem to have, found a bit of more of a goal-scoring form, a bit of a goal-scoring run. So I think this banana skin could be there. And so that's those 2. I mean, and then there's Liverpool, the injuries, the consistent injuries. They've got West Ham coming up. It's mostly going to be against teams that are like kind of fighting for like another European spot. And West Ham and Tottenham are 2 of those teams. And West Ham have slowly started getting back into form as well. They got their win against Brentford. They got the win against Everton recently. So they'll pick up form as well and want to be fighting on the right side as well. Plus, both the teams I'm talking about with West Ham and Brighton, they're both in Europe. So naturally, you want to try and progress from where they are. So I wouldn't be surprised if the banana skins are going to be Brighton or West Ham and even the Spurs. I mean, Hell, Luton had nearly all of our numbers 1 point in the world. They lost narrowly to Arsenal, lost narrowly to City, lost narrowly to Chelsea, and they drew with Liverpool. So plus they scored first at Anfield. So any one of those, Brighton. I think it's Brighton. It's gonna be like a Brighton or Spurs. That I think is gonna be the surprise scalp for a couple of teams.
All right, let's get on to the match that put a smile on my face on Monday. Sheffield versus Arsenal, a bloodbath. So I'm going to describe it. As simple as that. We went there, we did the job, and it's always hard when you're the last team to play. When in the week of games when you've seen your main rivals get the 3 points, you've got to put in a performance. But I have to say, from minute zero, from the tunnel, the boys were focused. There's a meme going around, or a GIF going around, just on the screen if you're watching, of the players all lining up. You've got Ben White looking across at the Sheffield United players, mean mugging them. You've got Gabriel behind him just looking at them like, okay. Saliba looks around like, okay. And then Raya looks around like, yeah, they came ready for war and definitely delivered. I mean, how impressed have you been with Arsenal, Craig, post Dubai, and how we seem to have, as they say, it's been like the big 45, no safety. Like we've just been shooting and demolishing teams left, right, and centre.
Arsenal just been, from the start of the year, since they come up from Dubai, it's been a different team. After they lost the FA Cup game against Liverpool, and they came back after that, they warm up of training and came back, they look like a different animal, different species now. They just want to win. And not just win, it's the way how they're scoring their goals. Not one goal, not 2 goals, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like they're punishing teams. And I feel that if we continue this way, I know we've got some tough games coming up as well. We've got Brentford on Saturday. That's going to be a hard game. As much as Brentford are struggling, they have given us games in the past. Like Anthony will be up for showing Arteta why I should sign you in the summer if he does go to sign him. So he'll want to prove a point. Ramsdale will be playing in that game on Saturday. He's going to have to prove a point at why he should be number one. Even though Raya's doing what, to be fair, I did say Raya at the start of the season. I wasn't sure about Raya, but Raya's kind of done very well. So it's kind of changed my views on them now. He's done very well in the team. The team looked more confident and played the ball quicker, scored counter-attacking goals. Havertz is doing well now. That's back-to-back goals for him. He's getting goals, he's getting assists. So all the people that were doubting Arteta for signing him in the summer, a lot of them have to look back and say, no, maybe we should just give him time. He's getting a tune out of Havertz. Jesus came back off injury, so he didn't look really sharp on Saturday, on Monday. He looked very, but obviously been out for a while. Saka looked very well, did very well. Martinelli got a good goal. Declan Rice scored as well. So I think the whole team is doing well. Saliba and Gabriel at the back, and Kivior did well. So we just have to keep on every game, just keep on going and see where the points take us.
Yeah, we definitely have to keep on going. And you mentioned quite a few things that I want to pick up on a bit more. I think the first thing I want to highlight is, of course, you mentioned Raya and Havertz, the two of the 4 players we brought in the summer. Obviously, we also brought in Timber, we've not been able to see yet, but he's back in training. So hopefully he'll be back on the grass again with the team soon. And of course, Declan Rice, who we've been talking about every single week. You just can't not escape him from an Arsenal performance. I think he's now got, 10 goal contributions now, 5 goals, 5 assists this season, which is amazing. But how pleased are you with, when you think about the as you mentioned yourself, like people are very skeptical about, Raya and Havertz, those 2 signings in particular, like why do we do them? Look at how the season's panned out so far. Are you happy with the business that Arsenal have done in hindsight of seeing how it's played out? Because I know with Havertz, I feel like we're finally getting not just the consistency, but there was a swagger to his game on Monday. Like some of the passes he was given, the control and setback for Ben White's goal, the final goal. Like, I'm like, Havertz, is that you? Whereas I think a month or so ago, a similar pass, and you would have, actually a similar ball over the top towards him, he controlled it back the other way, away from goal. So how impressed are you with the work Edu and Arteta have done this summer with the players that are making a major contribution to us now in the business end of the season?
Well, you have to give credit to Edu and Arteta for the recruitment. a lot of people at the start of the season when Arsenal were not doing well was struggling to score goals, and everyone saying Havertz a waste of money, including me. I was like that on the bandwagon at the time for how waste of money, didn't do it at Chelsea. But sometimes as players, you have to prove your fans wrong. Yeah, and the managers make the decisions you have to respect. They know what they're doing. They get paid big money. If they get it wrong, they get sacked. And I think Arteta and Eddie made the right decisions. They saw something in Havertz that we haven't seen. Our fans haven't seen. He didn't do it at Chelsea, but they see something in him, and he works in well in the system that he wants to play. Who else did you say?
And then Raya, Rice, and of course Timber. Timber has been injured, so
Raya came in when he first came into the team. Looked very shaky. Conceded some goals against the goal against Chelsea. He conceded. I was not happy with him, and the goal against Newcastle he conceded. Wasn't happy with him, but ever since then, since the Dubai trip, he stepped up. Every game he's either keeping clean sheets or conceding only 1 or 2 goals. So he's really improved a lot. Declan Rice for £105 million, he's done excellent. Because a lot of players have gone for 100 million. You can say Jack Grealish, for example, and have not lived up to the hype of the 100 million. They kind of sink or swim. I know Jack Grealish has won trophies at Man City, but his goal contribution is not what you pay £100 million for a player.
And not just the goals. I think his general performances have been okay. At Aston Villa, he used to wrestle them to victories. I think there's just too many things in Jack Grealish's game that's changed since he's gone to Man City.
Definitely.
I don't agree with, and don't think this is a maverick player.
Yeah,
a player that you could say, and it wouldn't even be a crazy comparison. He's a player that you looked at and thought that's the next Eden Hazard of the Premier League. In that a player that single-handedly can win you games, can get a ball, drive past players, commit them into fouling him. And at Man City, you don't really see that. You see it in bits and...
But do you think Guardiola's kind of changed his game?
100%.
Because Guardiola, you know how Guardiola is, like, you have to play to his system. If you don't play to his system, then you're not going to play. I think at Aston Villa, he had more freedom. The manager gave him freedom to do what he needs to do. He can go there, left, right, centre, get the ball, do more stuff. At City, you have to play in the system. So I think maybe the system he's playing at City is not the same as it was at Aston Villa. It was giving him more the freedom to do his thing. Who else did I say? Declan Rice, he done well. Timber, obviously Timber's been injured all season, but we'll see what he does when he comes back. And
and you mentioned Havertz before. So
Havertz,
Been happy with the dealings, and we'll see what comes next. And then obviously 2 other players that I want to highlight as well from that match was, of course, the captain Martin Odegard and Bukayo Saka. You talked a lot about Saka and how he was, and I think looking at him on the bench after when he was subbed at half time, he did look a bit upset because he could sense there was goals out there. Obviously, with all the chat online about Foden this, Foden that, obviously you probably would have heard a few things here and there. He looked like a guy that wanted to come and be like, let me show Foden levels, let me get a couple goals here tonight. But Arteta saved him. But he had Austin Trusty on toast. And it's tough for Trusty because he was at Arsenal in the preseason. They would have trained together before he made his move over to Sheffield United.
Yeah.
But he was cooking the poor kid. Like, it just felt unfair.
Yeah.
Like, every time Saka got the ball, you just... And even in the end, that first goal, people would have... Or the second goal, actually. People would have expected Saka to cut in on the inside. And that's what Trusty was trying to show him, show him to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing with Saka now is he's perfecting that go down the outside route. So you really can't... You have to kind of find a way to engage him because you can't show him inside because he'll kill you with his left foot. If you try and show him outside, he'll take the outside route because his right foot now is there.
Yeah.
As Van Persie used to call it the chocolate leg. His chocolate leg is there.
Yeah.
So, like, how else do you sum up the development of a man that is slowly cementing himself as one of the best players in the Premier League?
He's getting better and better each week. And I feel like if he continues his development even more, we're going to have one hell of a player on our hands. We just have to. What I would say Arsenal need to do is we need to match his ambition with trophies. We need to start winning one of the big ones. Hopefully, it would be nice if we could win a big trophy this season because, as you said last week, it will come to a stage when players like him and Martinelli want to move on if they're not winning trophies. I don't want to break up this team because this team is a good team right now. So the only thing that's lacking in this team right now is a trophy, a big trophy.
That's true.
If we win a big trophy this season, then.
And we're primed to do it, I know we've got to overcome a deficit against Porto in Champions League. I know that we're sitting third in the Premier League, but by all the key metrics, we are where we need to be at this point in the season. If we can overcome that first leg defeat to Porto at home, which I expect us to, it'll be a tough game, but I just know we've got something for them. Then it's like we're into quarters now. Let's see who we get, and we'll find out on Friday what the draw will be, and then we'll just take it from there. But yeah, really happy with what our team is doing and everything. I guess one of the things I'll ask you, Matthew, as well is, we've seen that when they first came to the club, Gabi Jesus and Odegard Zinchenko, how they transformed our mentality, our way of playing. They helped us believe that a title push was possible with the players we have. Now they've been out, they're coming back through injury, but we've done so well without them. I guess for you, Matthew, do you think they'll get straight back into the team, or is it going to be a fight for them to get back into starting?
They're going to find it really hard to come back into a team that has scored, 21 goals in the last how many games, and how many more including before that. You found that kind of, that swag you had in, like, last year when you were able to score loads of goals, but you've added that to the fact that you're able to defend as well. I think in all those games, I think West Ham, you scored 6, didn't concede. You put 6 for Sheffield United, didn't concede. I think the other 2 games as well, I think only Newcastle you conceded. So you scored 21 and then conceded maybe 1, maybe even 2. Either way, that's another way. That's a statistic of a team that's going the right way. Whether that's championship winning form, we don't know. But it's a mark of all 3 teams, that yourselves, Liverpool and Man City, that are all going towards the right way. You're doing what you got to do. You're conceding minimal goals, but scoring maximum goals. And because of that, you put yourself in a position where you win on the weekend. You beat Brentford, which, to be brutally honest, I think you will. I'm looking at another high score potentially. Another 3-0, unless Ivan Toney has something to say about that. But it's hard to look past the fact that it's likely to happen. So, I don't know if they walk back straight into the team, because the harmony is so good right now since the Dubai trip. So I don't know whether them coming in maybe compromises it. It's always going to be a good option, for as much as Zinchenko and Jesus in their positions aren't the best. They add a new element. They're a good part of the squad, and they both come from a team who knows how to win a championship. So it's not a terrible thing to consider.
It's going to be a tough one, and we'll see what the manager does, especially in the game against Brentford. And before I get into the predictions for that, I just want to have a little look over to Sheffield United. Obviously, they brought Chris Wilder back, midway through this season. This is a guy who knows the club inside out. He brought them up from, I think from League One to the Championship to the Premier League. Kept them in for a long time. Got fired before they got relegated. He's back now. It's not quite the same Sheffield United that he had. They had a defensive core and a structure which they don't quite have this time around. They seem just a bit lost. Do you think he's going to be able to turn it around and give them a fighting chance?
I thought we were hopeless, but they're just like, 5-0 in what? I don't know, in 45 minutes? I don't know what more you can say about that the fans haven't already said. I was listening on the radio the other day about some of the fans where it's like, do you stay for the game or do you just go half time? If I'm paying my money for all that, I'll feel some type of way where, if it's a time that I'm wasting, especially on a weeknight as well. They've already accepted that the fact that they're probably going down anyway. There's not much more they can do. I think they're a few defeats away from getting sent back down to the Championship. They're one of the teams to get sent back down, predicted anyway. Not even with the addition of Chris Wilder has actually saved them. They're just not good. They're just not. They weren't ready. I think they weren't ready for when they came. They and I haven't looked ready since they've arrived. Knowing how many. He'll still be there in the job. They know Chris Wilder quite well back in the Championship. Getting him back into the system that he wants, and maybe they might see some improvements. But there's just they're not staying up. They're just not.
Right now they are sitting rock bottom on 13 points, level with Burnley, but they have a minus 50 goal difference. Burnley's is minus 35. They are 11 points from safety. The next game is against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth are safe
at
now.
home. Bournemouth away. So Bournemouth are at home, Sheffield are away. Do you think Chris Wilder can start getting some points on the board and maybe start looking up? Or do you think it's
Could be another bastion again this weekend for them. I just feel like they sold a lot of their key players. Like Ndoye went to Marseille in the summer. They lost Sanderberg to Burnley. So they also got their key players from the Championship that were there for them last season, and they didn't really rebuild or got the right, because they've got a lot of players in their team are Championship players. To be fair, there are a lot of Championship players in the team, so they didn't really, when they got promoted, they didn't really spend a lot of money on players.
But Luton also have the same issue. They got a lot of Championship players, but they just seem to look like they've got more fight in them. Even Burnley, as much as Burnley aren't getting points, and I know Burnley are, we beat them heavily the other day. When you look at Burnley's matches in the beginning of the season through till now, their two biggest issues are this, with Burnley. They don't take their chances when they make them. Their finishing is atrocious. Yeah. And then secondly, and most importantly, they're far too open. But when they're on the ball, Burnley look good. Luton, Luton give you a game. Even when they give you a game, what does Sheffield United do?
I thought the Sheffield United came up a couple of seasons ago in the Premier League. They had more of a fight than the Sheffield United I see now. Because remember they beat us at their ground.
Yeah, and that Sheffield United could hold a 0-0 for no problems.
And they stayed up that season. They lost against us in the semi-final FA Cup. They did well that season. I was on the Chris Wilder. I don't know what happened after that. The next season they struggled and then they got relegated and Chris Wilder got sacked or he left the club, mutual consent. I think he left. So I feel like Sheffield United, they do remind me, this season they remind me of Norwich. When Norwich come up, they do well, they come off and then they go down, then they come back up again. So maybe another season in the Championship from the next season, they rebuild. And hopefully, if they get off again, they can get better players in and show more of a fight in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think with the Premier League, it's one of those things where it's kind of like you either have to have enough goals in you to help you. So like when Brentford got promoted, they had Tony and they were able to get goals or everything. But also they were defensively solid. And that defensive solidity is key because the teams that make it in promotion and stay up, that's the core. It's the defense that helps you.
Yeah.
And then you have the goal scorers that can get you the goals. Like Luton got Morris.
Yeah.
Carlton Morris. Yeah. He's getting goals.
Yeah.
And he's getting really good goals.
Yeah.
But he's always a threat. Even if he doesn't score, he's made something happen. I just don't know with Sheffield if like they've got McBurney, they've got Brewster, but I just don't know if they've got enough to do it.
I don't think so.
And they're running out of time. Like, there's not that many more games left. There's enough games for them to survive. There's more than enough games for them to survive. It's not like it's an impossibility. It's 38. So there's 11 games left in the season. For them anyway. Luton have got 12 games left. But they can do it. If they can win 5 out of 11, that might be enough.
But their goal difference is a lot.
It's a lot. Win 5 out of 11, win 5, draw 4. And lose 3 out of 11 and lose 2 out of 11, then that might be it. That might be enough to keep them up. But they need to start. And Bournemouth is the game to start. No pressure, Blades. No pressure. But Craig, what is your prediction for the weekend? Arsenal vs Brentford. We go first before the big one.
3-1 Arsenal.
3-1 Arsenal. I think it'll be a home win. I hope we keep another clean sheet for Ramsdale's sake anyway. I just hope he has a focused game. I think for me, the key thing with Ramsdale is just got to replicate what Raya's been doing really well. Get the ball distributed quickly. None of this lie on the ground, putting your tongue out, doing funny faces. Just move the ball fast, my G. Just move it fast. That's what we need.
But as for you guys, go in the other direction. You know, you got Brentford next, and then you got the other title decider coming up. That's going to be such a... I think you winning your game will put pressure on the other two, definitely, because you guys play first. So it's like a blink. It's like a blink and miss it sort of moment. So you guys will win. And I do think Liverpool will beat Man City, despite the fact that I've said in the past that I think Liverpool will finish behind Man City.
Before we wrap up, Matthew, what's your hot take for this week?
I got 2 Premier League hot takes. Kind of just throwing them out the blue a little bit. Cause I just think, the crazier they sound, the more fun it's going to be. My first one is Chelsea making the top 5. I have to believe us getting to the final of the Carabao Cup and the quarters of the FA Cup. With their target being the final, I think it's going to be a good catalyst for us to try and get to that top 5. Into potentially the Champions League. Should they extend it in the Premier League to the top 5 teams? Do you think I want to be in the Champions League to get whooped? No, but that 5th spot is up for grabs. There's still a lot of points to get. We've got a couple of postponed games coming up, games in hand in our favour, and the hardest games we have, the hardest is Arsenal, Spurs, and United. They're our hardest games, which doesn't mean much. There's every single game's a hard game, but that's one of my hot takes. My other one is for Graham Potter to be back in management by next season. I think he's coming. He'll want a bit of a redemption arc. I wouldn't be surprised should they survive. If they survive, I don't know, like an Everton maybe a bit more of an open style of play, a bit more stylish kind of play and style of Graham Potter. I think that could be quite fun. He might even come in at Crystal Palace, their manager situation. He's perfect for it, a young vibesy club with young vibesy players. I think Graham Potter might be a good addition. Let's not have the fact that the time at Chelsea didn't work out because the time at Brighton did, the time at Ostersunds did. And, the last time that Crystal Palace had a young vibesy manager, Patrick Vieira, things were pretty good. And I think, it could be a point of his redemption like David Moyes. He could deserve a second chance. Just because it didn't work at a big team doesn't mean it won't work at all.
All right. So we've got, that's an interesting one. We've got some massive games coming up. So a big game on Sunday, as we said, Liverpool versus Man City at Anfield. It's going to have a big outcome on how the season goes. Obviously, there's other games as well that might be a swing on it, but we'll see how it all goes and what happens with these teams. We'll also see whether Saka can keep his great run going and will he be in contention for, Player of the Year again? Will Odegard crown him to that? And will Arsenal be able to do it? Long way to go, but like I said, it's about 11 games left in the season. So we'll see what happens. It's so tight at the top. You've got 63 points to Liverpool, 62 points to Man City, 61 points for Arsenal. Aston Villa on 55. I know, Craig, you said that you can't rule out Man United in a push for the top four. But looking at that top four right now, do you think those four teams will stay there and won't change again?
Well, Aston Villa will play Tottenham this weekend.
So if they win, you think that's it?
I think if they win, that's it, to be honest with you. But Aston Villa have to be consistent with United in the season. Because at home, they're very good at home. Away from home, they concede a lot of goals.
Yeah, because Man United have got 11 points behind them, which is a lot to try and pick up. Not saying Man United can't do it, because
Man United can go on. Man United were on a good run a couple of weeks ago. They were unbeaten. They were unbeaten for a long time, and then they lost 2 away. So, yeah.
So anything can happen, but we'll see. And then for the bottom, right now it's Sheffield in 20th on 13 points, Burnley in 19th also on 13 points, Luton Town in 18th on 20. Do you think that's going to stay the same, or do you think one of them will escape?
I really feel that if Luton can sort out their defensive frailties, I think they could stay up,
They got Crystal Palace next, away.
Because the Palace, they got a new manager. He won one game, lost the other game. I feel that with Luton, they're a very entertaining team to watch. They remind me of Newcastle in the 90s. They'll score goals and they'll concede some sloppy goals. I feel like they can tighten up at the back. I think that they could definitely stay up because they got goals on their team. Barkley's had a remarkable season. I think if you're giving an award for comeback of the season, you give it to Ross Barkley for what he's done this season. The guy's come back like he's playing like he's a young pro again. But he's got the experience of playing for big clubs, and he's trying to push the team forward to do well. And then
lastly, Chelsea are in 11th on 36 points. What's the highest you think they can finish? Bearing in mind, Man United in 6th are on 44. West Ham in 7th are on 42, which is 6 points off Chelsea. How high can they go?
Up to them. It's up to them.
On that note, we'll call it a night. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back after this blockbuster weekend. We're going to have reactions to that massive game between Liverpool and Man City. We're going to see if Arsenal can keep the winning run going against Brentford at home. And we're also going to see if Aston Villa can sort of put a hand on the Champions League spaces for next season. And will that also help Ollie Watkins secure his seat on the plane in the Euros this coming summer? That's us wrapping up for this week. See you next time.
Peace.